Welcome to the top cheating videos on YouTube from Dating Tips. Consider subscribing and turning on alerts if you like what you see. Let's watch the video now. Today's video is about a husband that finds his wife's tapes and exposes them. Now let's get into the video. So this little story begins with me and my wife, happily married. The two of us were blessed with two lovely children, ages 13 and 10, and enjoyed a somewhat happy marriage. Things began to materialize, or so I believed when they first appeared. In the end, she was so attached to her phone that she made sure to deactivate the password function on our shared PC as soon as the phone calls abruptly stopped. After 15 years of marriage, you can probably imagine what I was hoping to see when I arrived at the house/room in question. As a result, when she informed me she was going to spend some time with the girls, I decided to tag along for the ride. Yes, that's correct. I discovered her while she's driving to a hotel to meet with whoever it is she's supposed to be meeting with. It was a gut hit, to put it mildly. After I finished my period of self-pitying, I sobbed for an hour straight. In the end, I concluded that the best course of action was to get even if it meant pounding penis into a bloody pole. Finally, I resolved to conduct myself civilly and legally, but only as long as the first phase of my strategy was coming together. The simplest thing would have been to get me some pie, but I had other ideas. When my wife and children were out of the house, I set up some covert cameras and microphones to monitor their activities while they were away from home. I made the purchase because of the way our bedroom was set up at the time. I even got one with a beautiful view of the bed in it. However, I didn't make use of them while I was still at my apartment. So the days go by. When I got down on one knee and proposed to my girlfriends the second weekend after Valentine's Day, I decided to take them to a secret location where I would spend the night. Because her job is very demanding and frequently exhausting, as well as because of our various interests and abilities, I should mention this at this point. I was the primary caretaker for the majority of the time. Most of the time, I was the one in the kitchen. When it came to raising my daughters, I was much more involved and showed them a lot more compassion and care. No, I didn't ruin anything for them by telling them ahead of time. So, traveling on a trip with the girls all by myself wasn't all that unusual. This is an essential consideration. So 2 weeks go by, during which time I organize my affairs and hire a lawyer to draft a separation agreement that calls for me to retain my residence in custody until the divorce is finalized. As I embark on the journey, I make a concerted effort to withhold any sexually explicit information from the women I meet and wait to see whether my wife, Paula, has a penis for the trial. If they weren't dodging speech, it was an even better 36 hours after I arrived and checked the recordings from the weekend. Later on, I learned that penis had a wife, which made things worse. They also discussed, in addition to the anticipated primary character assassination on the size of my penis, how I failed to please her, etc., etc. Some of the things she said wounded me deeply, as when she told me about her penis and some of my darkest secrets and humiliating memories, which I had only told her for laughs. As a result, I was confident in what I would do the next day with the youngsters. Nevertheless, before my wife departed, I showed her the film and warned her that until she signed the separation papers and vacates the house, the daughters will be subjected to an in-depth explanation of all the orifices into which mommy had been inserted. Just to be clear, I had no intention of doing so. I'm overly protective of my children, yet when I threatened her, she didn't see through my ruse. As she progressed through the stages, she denied everything, bargained with me, threatened me, and finally became enraged with me. All of it was left to me to let it go through. After she said her goodbyes to the children and signed the document, she left that evening. I didn't show or tell the girls anything explicit during that time. Another reason I was the preferred parent was that I was always completely honest with them. As a result, I already stated that mommy was disloyal to me. While my younger brother took a little while to figure it out, my elder brother quickly made up for it. While I'm not sure the phrase first boyfriend applies at that age, she was well versed in the ways of the world and became enraged. This would be critical, as a custody fight would ensue if she did really have custody at the time. Except to relinquish control of the child. That's what I dreaded, and I was right to be concerned. That she would abuse her visiting privileges to slander me was a surprise to me. To put it simply, she began telling my younger sister how I was to blame for not having brought her along. At one point, her attorney began making demands. She was given legal custody of her children. Because she had been exposed as a cheater, she had no chance of receiving the money or the property. It also signifies quite a lot in divorce cases in my state. As a result, I finally put my nuclear vengeance strategy into action, which led me to arrange a trip to South Carolina. For one thing, there's Fort Sumter in South Carolina. My goal was to get my girls to do it, and I was determined to make it happen. When I went there, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. It's one of the remaining locations where retribution porn is allowed, which meant I could post pictures of my wife and penises having sex without fear of prosecution on Pornhub and other sites like it. My wife's job, her clients, and everyone else in her field received the URLs I provided to them, just to be safe. That's exactly what happened. Penis divorced soon after. I feel bad for his wife since she was a helpless bystander in this whole ordeal, but in the long run, it's better for her to know than for my wife to remain in the dark. The battle for custody had been lost. Her 8-year position was shortly terminated. While the revenge porn segment was a sleazy prank, it had legal consequences. Doing it legally and without repercussions in South Carolina meant it could only be used against me as a criticism of my employees. My wife, on the other hand, is unemployed and essentially blacklisted in her career as a result of her use of Pornhub. Despite their claims to the contrary, both of my younger children are being browbeaten by their older siblings. There was no ambiguity as to who would be awarded parental responsibility. Yes. Because she's unemployed. No alimony for me, but I make enough money to support myself and the children quite fine without it. As a result, it doesn't bother me. And I'm capable of taking care of them. Moreover, kids are of an age where I can devote all of my time to them. My wife has been out of work for some months now. I'm not sure if it's caused by porn or a virus. The girls are developing normally. And they don't appear to be bothered by the fact that they won't be seeing their rotten mother. In our last exchange on Facebook, my ex-wife complained about how I had damaged her relationships with her kids and her life in general. But to be honest, I doubt it. TLDR. I found out my wife was having an extramarital affair. As a result, I obtained a video of her having sex with her partner. She finally agreed to a one-sided divorce after convincing her of the benefits of it. As soon as she sought to discredit me in order to gain custody, I turned her into a temporary porn star in order to gain custody while also getting fired and having her banned from future employment opportunities. Now for the top comments. Comment 1. Cheating is very unacceptable in my eyes, and I will not tolerate it. However, what would you do if one of your daughters strayed on her boyfriend, and in retaliation, he posted revenge pornography on her on the internet? Would you agree with him and think that he was justified in his actions because she had cheated? Your girlfriends are going to find out what you did, and you've already set a bad example for them. When they discover the whole tale, I doubt they'll think well of you. I've always instilled a sense of responsibility in my daughters as a result of my own example. So, if they were 18 and acting responsibly, they're responsible. It goes without saying that I would support them in every way I could, but if they were under the age of 18, it would be their fault for getting into this position. Excellent for a wide range of entertaining activities. Comment 2. Using her visiting privileges to blabber on about whatever she wanted to surprise me. To put it another way, she began telling my younger brother how I was to blame since I hadn't forgiven her. Even her lawyer began to push that she be given sole custody of the child. In my state, if a woman is discovered cheating on her spouse, she loses a lot of ground in the divorce procedures. As a result, I finally put my nuclear retaliation strategy into action. Hasn't anyone remembered that she had the choice of walking away from the situation? She had the option of accepting the divorce and dealing with the fallout from betraying their lover. As a result, she chose to retaliate and make herself appear innocent in front of their younger siblings while also attempting to get custody of her younger brother. However, the only way to put a stop to the problem is through revenge porn. She got a second shot at a normal life, but she chose to seek vengeance instead. She just served to exacerbate an already dire situation. But it doesn't mean I think Opie was ethically sound. He had every right to employ the nuclear option, as I've stated,